We're going to get to both of those here shortly. When you own the media, you own the message. And unfortunately, the media has been controlled. 90% of our media today is owned by 6 corporations, and there is a filter. Roxanne just mentioned about the money and the way it all works. When we first started the Independent Gazette about 2 years ago, the mayor of Wilkes Barre made sure he made the rounds and went to the advertisers of the Gazette. And why are you carrying this garbage in your store? Why are you advertising? A restaurant owner, when was your last inspection?
No.
And the list goes on and on and on. There's something very powerful about the truth. And when we did start this, and it still is, been a labor of love. The ball is now starting to roll down the hill. Just in the last 2 months, we had our first franchise edition in Carbon County. Just this past week, we just had our second franchise edition.
What's a franchise edition?
A franchise edition is, in other words, they're independently owned, and yet we do the editing and we help folks along. One of the things that we did find out about doing the newspaper, and you can see here's Jesse with Andy Otrowski, and people are reading stuff that they would not normally get picked up. But our first franchise edition is an independently owned paper that we kind of look over, and it's a way. Actually, Ben Franklin, that's how he grew the Pennsylvania Gazette into the organization that he had, and was able to influence so many people. So right now we print in Scranton, we print in Wilkes Barre, we print in Carbon County, we printed in Trenton, New Jersey, and next on the list is, like I said, the Poconos and San Antonio and Arlington, Virginia. Those are the next ones to go. We've been inundated with requests from around the country. We just have not had enough of the infrastructure, but like I said, the ball is now starting to go down, roll down the hill. Well, one of the things that we did was also we combined it with a radio station. It's called Sanity Check. We're on 94.3 FM, the talker. It's Saturday mornings, but what that's been able to do originally was to give us a lot of credence, and even in the media. We've been very critical of the media, and we've called out the media, the AP, our local TV stations. I could give you one quick example. WNEP, which is the largest TV station up in Northeast Pennsylvania, just covered a regular story, just covered a good story. They were doing a RSD walk, and the anchor woman for the news organization was in charge of the walk. Well, the next day I wound up seeing the video, and it said hundreds of people were at the walk. And the way they cut that video, and you see all the little feet walking, if you're sitting in your chair, it looked like hundreds of people were there. I gave him a call, and I said, listen, I said, you need to make a retraction here. I said, that's fraudulent. I said, here's the video. We were right there with you. There were 26 people there. And I said, if you do something that is so insignificant on this, how do you change, when something is really important? And I guarantee you that we are being manipulated in the media. I mean, I could go on and on about Operation Mockingbird. You go back to the church commissions back in the 70s where the CIA were putting plants into major news organizations, and it is bought. And I believe Roxanne and even Jesse has alluded to how our media is bought. So what are people listening to, and how are they getting their information? And when I said 90% of our media is owned by 6 corporations, I'm not just talking about press. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about what your kids are hearing on the radio, the movies that they're watching, NFL, Jeopardy. It goes on and on and on. So there is this filter. So one of the things, and like I said, we started the Wilkes Barre paper out of pure frustration, total frustration. We said we can't take it anymore. We have people running. We can't get information into the media. So what I like to say is, we started this shit little paper that started landing on the doorsteps. We go to where the ragged people go. We started, and they had a predatory towing company up there. FBI just arrested them. He's going to be doing time. I remember one lady came to me and she says, Lou, She said, they towed my car. $1,000. $1,000. And if I wanted the stuff out of my car, my prescription pills, my personal belongings, and I didn't have the $1,000, I needed to bring a $100 bill and the title. And then I watched the car sold on the lot. And the captain of the police station was the salesman. So right off the bat, as you can see, that oh yeah, it goes on, and it gets a lot worse. And in fact, today, or just in the last week or so, once again, the FBI has just arrested folks up there with the credit union. Same thing with that predatory towing company that we helped break. That's how we started. They thought it was a joke, and we were ridiculed, and we were fools, and you guys are nuts, and you're out there, you know, who are these people? And then here today, well, just this past week, they've arrested people in the credit union because guess what? The police were taking loans out on the cars in the cars that were towed, in the individual's name that they towed. This is Wilkes Barre. This is Wilkes Barre. The same place. The same place.
What they want to try.
That's criminal. It's terrible.
No, but that's there. Okay?
To make up the money to start selling the kids.
Let me remind you that is the same place where we had kids for cash.
Yeah.
Where the judges now are spending probably life in prison, even though it's 20 years or whatever. They're getting up there in age, and they're incarcerated. And I suspect there's going to be a lot more folks being arrested. We had an individual in February that came to us about what we've done, custody for cash. It's going to dwarf kids for cash.
Custody, seriously?
Custody for cash. Kids are being used as collateral. They're being used as money, as inventory.
In the same Wilkes Barre area?
This, unfortunately, is around the country.
All over the nation.
Once we first, and you guys can pick up the stories. I mean, I could go on and on here, and I don't want to, you know, I don't even know how much time, and I don't want to spend too much time on individual stories. But this custody for cash is going to dwarf the kids for cash scandal.
The media seems to hide it under this topic of human trafficking.
Yeah.
And I mean, when people hear human trafficking, they see some Saudi prince taking a blonde girl and hiding her in a harem.
Right.
That's not what's going on. Kids for cash, that was child human trafficking.
Right.
The custody board, I mean,
custody for
guardian
cash
ad litem,
is-
I mean, the
is-
scandals
is
are all
way
over the
bigger.
place.
And it's
But
not,
people
and
don't
they're saying
understand.
it's not happening in this country.
It's human trafficking, and it's
all over the
happening
country.
Oh, I know.
everywhere in the United States.
And
We're just
here's
in
what I want to
denial.
bring up about all of that, okay? Our first story was in February, inundated. I can't answer my phone. I have so many calls from around the country, people pleading, crying, thanking me. God bless you. Thank God for what you guys are doing. And fortunately enough, we weren't part of the, I had no idea. I had no idea what a guardian ad litem was. Maybe some of you folks do. I never did. I never knew, you know, how the family court worked and all these other things. But the more I got into it, and then people would call and say, "Would you mind coming to court with me?" I just want somebody there. I just want somebody to observe. And the first person we went to court with, that week, the lawyer recused himself. And the following week, the guardian ad litem recused himself. And then the following week, the judge recused herself.
Amen.
It's a cesspool. It's an absolute cesspool. Our court system, I don't know how many lawyers or whatever, is a cesspool.
It is.
And the more I'm finding out, the worse it gets. Now, here's another story that we wrote. This is all about custody for cash. This is shredding of documents. And this happens to me all the time. It's unbelievable. I'm going to work in Wilkes Barre. I get a phone call, "Lou, can you shoot over to Scranton? There's adoption records being shredded out there." Fine. You go there, you try to get information. Nobody knows anything. We did a great little piece on the solicitor there. She knows nothing. But of course, on the radio show, we like to use humor. We nicknamed her the Sergeant Schultz of solicitors. I know.
I've seen that
seen the video. So they don't particularly like us all that much. So anyway, here I go into court now. We go into court. Now we go into court again. And the Sergeant Schultz of solicitors is there. Once again, we need these folks thrown out of court. We need them thrown out of court. Because we're sitting there. We're not bothering nothing. So we break for court and they come back and the next,
Oh, you mean you?
us, yeah.
Oh, they want you thrown out.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you don't want them thrown out. They want
We just want to sit there and observe.
I'm gonna report.
We just want to sit there and
Yeah,
watch
I know
what
that.
is happening in the damn courtrooms,
Yes,
because
sir.
you know what? We
Yeah.
have precedent. We have precedent in Northeast Pennsylvania, and I guarantee you, you folks have precedent too, that you can't trust what the hell is happening in the
That's
courtrooms.
exactly right.
And I'm going to get to this very briefly, because it's one thing to tell stories. I can tell you stories that your heads would curl.
Huh?
How about a woman, 40 years old, first baby she has in Hazleton. She has a cesarean, they botch a cesarean, they put her on morphine. On the third day, Children and Youth is called. She's still fighting for that child 3 years later. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that. That can't be.
That child's been sold already.
I can't be. You know what happened? The psychiatrist, 26 years on the case, calls me. 26 years within working in the court system. She calls me, she says, Lou, I can't take it anymore. She says, the most egregious case I've ever seen. She says, I took it to the Corbett administration. I've taken it to the Attorney General. I've taken it to Human Services. You know what they told me?
Not a sure.
You open your mouth, you talk, you are fired. I don't know how many lawyers and doctors have come to us and said, please, Lou, I got a call at 7 o'clock this morning. They're going to talk, Lou. They're going to come and talk. A lawyer that's just like with Andy's situation. People that have been, they can't come forward. The intimidation factor. I mean, but that's one thing once again. So anyway, I want to just stick with this. So here we go in to Sergeant Schultz of Solicitors, and I want to just tell you how this whole muckraker thing and everything else got going. And I don't have, you know what, I didn't bring some of the Carbon County papers because it shows folks going in as muckrakers. So she comes back at the afternoon break, and she's now standing in front of the judge. Like this, like a frickin' lunatic. Do you see this, Judge? Do you see that? Muckrakers. Do you know what muckrakers are? And do you guys know what a muckraker is? Teddy Roosevelt coined the term. It's an investigative journalist, and he pleaded for investigative journalists to rout out corruption. That's what it is. And we have our thing on the back. So I said, okay, she don't like muckrakers? We're going to start going into the courtrooms with muckrakers. Grandmothers, grandfathers are now getting muckraker t-shirts. It's walking into the courtrooms and sitting there. I got a call from a lawyer yesterday. Matter of fact, I think the letter is probably on my iPhone. She says, Lou, I just got a letter. I've never seen this before. Proper attire is now required in courtrooms. That one I'm going to go to jail over. I'm not big on going to jail. I know a lot of folks sometimes say, oh, I'll go to jail. I have more important things than spending my time in jail.
Put it on your tie.
But yeah, there you go. That's not a bad idea right there. So what do you do? What do we do? This last Sunday, and once again, we have the radio show, we have our newspapers. So how do we change things? How do we really make a difference? And I went back, I said, nothing changes until we have a free and independent press and free and equal elections. I'm going to tell you right now, anything but free and equal elections in Pennsylvania.
That's true.
Anything but. It was 1970s that the United States and European nations signed the Helsinki Accords. That was for human rights around the world. And it was 1990s they expanded that to political rights. And I'll paraphrase, in 2006 they came out with a statement. Pennsylvania, one of the worst places in the world to have a free election. Pretty sad situation. There's a bill right now. And this is where I don't know who's running and everything else, and I know I'm rambling here a little bit, but I get passionate about this. We elect our elected officials, and they stick their hand on the Bible, they raise it up, and I swear that I will defend the Constitution, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I call them, and I'm on them all the time. Smucker. We have a paper. Smuckering the Constitution. Because there is a bill right now to make things a little bit more free and equal in Pennsylvania as far as elections go. But because that damn chair is sitting in there, Smucker, Senator Smucky, they will not allow it out of committee. So folks don't know. Folks don't know how the thing will work. Regular folks. And that's one of the things that we do with our paper and on our radio show is we educate. We also force media to follow what we're doing. Do you think the Times Leader, Citizens Voice, Scranton Times up there want this shit little newspaper scooping them? Do you know we broke a story today that every single one of them are calling us? There are so many hits on our website that right now that it's shut us down. Only because we broke a story about the damn police captain, or actually the head of the police force in Wilkes Barre, who happens to be the cousin of the mayor. And I've taken him to task about that also, but where am I going with this? So how do we change things? We just had a meeting this past week. Summer's coming to a close, and we have a three-pronged approach that we're doing. One is court watches. We have groups up there, and we're encouraging groups around the state and everything else. Go into the courts and watch. There's a group, Facebook groups up there, Voices, stuff like that. Grandmothers, grandfathers. I can't wait till they're tossed. I can't wait till some Marine gets tossed out of there for just wearing a damn shirt, showing up. I know you're questioning me. Well, how can they throw you out?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry. But how can they throw you out? It's supposed to be court. Of course, it's always for the kids. This isn't the family courts. It's the kids. Go ahead, Gary.
What if you go in just the way you're dressed? Once you get in the courtroom, you put your t-shirt on.
And I'm not there to hide. I'm in their face.
No, I'm just saying.
You know, and I mean,
Okay.
and now, but
they're going to say they're not going to let you in unless you're properly attired. Well,
I don't
hey,
know if that's what it's for or not. It's kind of strange that that's happening. But what happens, especially in family courts, it's always for the kids. So what we're doing right now, and we did this with the free and equal elections in Pennsylvania, we got every state senator to co-sponsor the bill. Not that that means anything, because I was told you could get every state senator in the whole Pennsylvania. It ain't getting passed, Lou. You get every state senator to co-sponsor a bill, and it ain't going out of committee, because in this particular case, the Republican Party does not want to see that happen. Right. End of story. Okay, so, but once again, this is an educational. Part of what we do and what we've decided to do is we educate. We print everything. You're going to pick up our papers and you can take some copies. You're not going to agree, nor are you going to like everything in this newspaper. It's not this is not my goal to tell you how to think. All we're going to do is give you the information the way it is, unfettered. Go ahead.
What should it cost to print one of those? Print them the way you're printing.
A little over 20 cents, 25 cents a piece.
Really?
Now we give these away. We print 5,000 in certain areas. Sometimes we print 10. We're up to about 15,000.
Well, what if somebody like me in Dallas, Texas wants to do something like that?
Well, we're going to San Antonio.
We need Dallas.
We'll do Dallas too.
Collin County.
And we do a franchise
Collin
model, and
County
I'll let you,
is a
and I'll give you some information before all that happens.
All right.
But so what happens? We're taking a three-pronged approach up in Northeast Pennsylvania with our groups, with the courts. We're saying, okay, they need, folks need.
Leave a card.
I just want to say I'm sorry. I gotta leave.
Do you have a card?
But if you just write my webpage down, leonaking.org, you'll find me. Send me a message.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Help with retaliation cases.
We will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Folks need help. When I'm telling you, they really need help going into these courtrooms. Moms and dads, and mommies and daddies, as some of these people are doing, man, they don't know who else to go to. They just want somebody to go. We're not lawyers. We're there to observe. Think about that. I don't know. I didn't hear Andy spoke before, but you know he had spoken once before that the courtrooms used to be these big cavernous places where people in the communities would go and see how justice is administered in their communities. Now you go into the courtroom and they try to throw you out. So what we're doing is a three-pronged approach. Once again, court watchers, people are going to start going in after September. We've been doing it, but now it's getting organized. And folks are knowing it, and they're hearing it. And you know why they're hearing it? It's because people know who we are. It's been a long-term process. We're on the radio. We're on the big stations. I was actually on the IQ down here for a while, 106.9, until they changed, until they sold out and moved forward. The second part of this is you guys have elections coming up right now. You have elections coming up right now. We're calling on all our candidates running, every single one, Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, Independent, anybody that's running in Northeast Pennsylvania. What we do is, we do an initiative. We're going to each and every one of them right now and saying, will you call before the elections public hearings on court corruption? Yes or no? No three-card Monty, no two-step. I don't want maybe this, maybe that. That's not what we're asking them. What we're asking them is, are you doing it now? Are you going to do it before I cast my damn vote?
Yeah.
And then we're going to print it. And guess what? Folks are reading it, at least where we're at.
Before the election.
Before the election, we are calling for hearings on court corruption. Folks, regular folks could come up, not just on family court. We all know, it's a cesspool. I don't care where you look, the prison system, the court system, the whole thing is just one big thing. So we want people to come and voice their issues. And the third thing that we're asking as part of our initiative, will you, if you're elected, will you put a bill in the, would you introduce a bill that would make cameras and audio mandatory in every single courtroom? End of story. We have courtrooms anywhere. We're probably on the videotape here, for all I know. And you're telling me that when we go into our courtrooms, we should not know what's going on? I interviewed Congressman Marino up there. He's a former attorney general, or prosecutor, district attorney. You know what he told me, Lou? He says, happens all the time. Because the Judge Margie, I call her, because I don't really have too much respect for some of these folks, you know, some of these judges. Sometimes we put these folks on a pedestal, and what they really should be doing is just be right on the same level as we are, and just talk person to person. So, and when they, I feel as though they abuse their power, they don't deserve the respect that perhaps maybe that position should deserve. But that all being said, I mean, what we have to do is we have to ask these folks, well, not just that, but I had an argument with her right in the courtroom. What are you worried about? We have a court stenographer. It gets changed all the time. You can't, folks, I mean, I could go on story after story and tell you. I mean, it is brutal. With the judges, where they, I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows. It's he, she says. But after a while, you start saying, wait a minute, all these folks can't be coming and telling the same story, the same type of story, where the judge says stuff